Good evening. Welcome to this public meeting of the Princeton Board of Education. The board is an elected, unpaid group of 10 citizens who set policy and make decisions on educational, financial, and personnel matters for the Princeton Public Schools on behalf of all residents. We are always pleased when members of the public attend our meetings. The board and the school district operate under applicable New Jersey laws and under regulations of the New Jersey State Board of Education. Each meeting includes an opportunity for those attending to comment on items on the published agenda or other matters of interest to them. The board reserves the right to limit the time allotted to public participation. Law limits discussion of individual personnel and confidential matters. We hope that our meetings provide useful opportunities for communication between the board and the community. Thank you for attending.
As required under the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 1046, et sequentia, adequate notice was given for calling this meeting. It was authorized by the Board of Education and forwarded to the municipal clerk, Princeton Packet, and the Trenton Times on January 6, 2023. It was distributed to the schools and others on the standard distribution list. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. Board Policy 168, recording devices, requires that we inform those attending this meeting that the proceedings are being recorded. This meeting is being live streamed. Public members who wish to make comments at the appropriate time, as noted in the agenda or added by the presiding officer, shall be asked to approach the podium and make comments. The representative of the sending district is authorized to vote on such matters that affect sending district students or affect the governance of the Princeton Public Schools as more specifically designated in NJSA 18A 38.8.1. In the event this statute is amended, the law shall take precedence over this bylaw. Sending district votes pertaining to personnel actions refer to high school, central administrative, and district-wide staff only votes. Otherwise are considered abstentions.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Would you please call the roll?
Daphne Kendall.
Here.
Betsy Baglio.
Here.
Beth Barron.
Here.
Debbie Bronfeld.
Here.
Mara Franceschi.
Here.
Susan Cantor.
Here.
Brian McDonald.
Present.
Michelle Tuck-Ponder.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Can I please get a motion for adoption of the minutes for July 6, 2023? Brian, second. Mara?
Daphne Kendall.
Yes.
Betsy Baglio.
Yes.
Beth Barron.
Abstain.
Debbie Bronfeld.
Yes.
Mara Franceschi.
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Michelle Tuck-Ponder.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bolden. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our summer meeting. Although school's out of session, there's still many kids participating in ESY, and so we're thankful to all the teachers and everyone who helps those programs be serviced over the summer. Tonight in my report, we're going to go discuss briefly the current status of the PHS principal survey that we did. And let me get it. Is it up? Okay, great. So this is the survey that we sent out to the community. It was made available through local press as well to parents who are residents who don't have kids in the public schools. We had 490 respondents. The large majority of them were parents of a current Princeton Public School District student. The next was current Princeton High School students. Then we had employees of public school students. And then we had some community members, former parents, and former students. We had asked, for those who didn't see the survey, we had asked about 9 or 10 characteristics, and we wanted the community, they were all important, and we wanted the community just to let us know what they thought was the most important. So the number one characteristic was trustworthiness at a 9.6 rating, accountability, average rating was 9.1, and collaborative was 9.1. And we will use these findings to inform our interview, some of our interview questions when we interview candidates at the end of this month. Some of the comments, there were many comments. We appreciate everyone who took the time to fill out the survey, but especially share their comments. As you would expect, there were some not so nice comments, and there are some very thoughtful comments, and we appreciate them all. The top comments that we picked out were, and this was representative, an eloquent speaker, able to sway the students and staff, not susceptible to peer pressure, a person who understands the chain of command and respects their legal and regulatory responsibilities, a person who understands that they serve the school and not themselves and protects the school and community. It's important a principal is both warm and engaging, but to also make the important administrative decisions that any high school principal must deal with. And it's time to bring in an educational leader who is collaborative, leads by example, inspires faculty to innovate and communicate effectively with students, parents, and each other, and who by their actions instills trust, respect, and collegiality among all stakeholders in the PHS community. So again, we just wanted to update the community about the search. Even though it's summer, we're doing a lot of hiring. And so we look to have another update at our next board meeting, which is on August 22nd. Did anyone have any questions? No, okay. Then moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board President Kendall. Good evening, everyone. For the superintendent's report, I thought that we would highlight some of the work that we're doing that's aligned to our 5-year strategic plan. As you know, our new plan for Focus 2028 outlined not only the district's portrait of a graduate, our 4 aspirational goals, but it also outlines specific strategies, AKA our building blocks or pillars, and professional practices that we will use and undertake to assure that each and every one of our students over time is either accomplishing or experiencing our goals, our definition for student success. So beginning this summer, we already see evidence of 2 of the professional practices that we say as adults, if we do these things really well, then we will help our students achieve how we are defining our student success by way of those aspirational goals. So specifically in the strat plan, you will see under professional practices that for pillar area 1, which is the teaching and learning, we have fancier terms in the strat plan if you want to go to the district's website, but we want to provide our staff with multiple opportunities and strategies for students to demonstrate their learning. And then also in pillar 1 or strategy 1 for leadership practice, we want our leadership team or our administrators, our teacher leaders to provide additional instructional time or professional development, effective personnel to support that learning for all of our students. So I would like to personally, as superintendent of schools, thank our staff that has been working over the summer, especially our leaders like Miss Mickey Crucifelli, Valerie Ulrich, and the list goes on, who've worked tirelessly to provide these multiple opportunities, these strategies, and additional instructional time for students qualifying for the support. So this evening, my superintendent's report is dedicated to highlighting some of the achievements that we've seen over the summer from summer programming. First, starting with the extended school year, commonly known as ESY, at the elementary level, what has been taking place at Riverside School. Do you know that the district has served over 130 eligible elementary special education students in our classrooms and with related services this summer? Do you know that our students are enjoying not just instruction in the mathematics and literacy, but also in physical education and music and social emotional learning and with their speech therapists? Do you know that our students in self-contained autism and also our multiple disability programs or MD are enjoying weekly field trips to go bowling and enjoy walking around in town, visiting movies? They went to the New Jersey State Museums, the grounds for sculpture. The autism and MD program students also participated in swim program at the PMS middle school, the middle school's pool twice a week with the certified swim instructor. And students also were working on bike riding instructions. Did you know that your superintendent still cannot ride a 2-wheel? But I'm just saying, they were working on bike riding instruction with the support of our occupational and physical therapists. At the middle school, our district has served over 60 students this summer in ESY. Students are participating in social emotional learning activities with our district's behaviorists and our school social worker. Our rising sixth graders have been coming to the middle school to work on transition skills while the school is quiet, which enables teachers to help students learn the building and other skills that will support them in the new year. Hopefully that includes using the locker. That part I don't know. That was always really hard for me. Students were engaged in language arts literacy and math skills to keep skills strong over the summer. And our middle school autism and MD classes were also enjoying the weekly trips and going to the pool for swim time and instruction. Additionally, we had a teacher providing theater activities for the students, which helps to develop their communication and social skills. And at the high school, the extended school year is going very well. Students are enjoying themselves while engaged in literacy and mathematics instruction. Our rising ninth grade students are reading a summer novel that is aligned with their ninth grade English class. Our autism and MD students are enjoying visits to the pool, going on trips, and working on their computer skills. The School to Work program has really flourished this summer. We've increased our community network, and students are working in various places around Princeton. Some of the students have secured paid positions because of their good workmanship. We also have students in our general education program that have been invited to an enriching summer program. We're calling it Jump Start. For our DLI students, it's DLI Jump Start. And for our EL students, it's LEAP. So we are entering, I can't believe it, this is our final week of our summer programming for these students. Teachers have created individualized learning programs for the students, and they have been engaged in both pre and interim progress monitoring to see how students are doing on the goals that have been set out for them as individuals based on their need in either literacy or mathematics. And we have 2 Orton Gilliam OG interventionists. In plain English, this is someone who is highly skilled in working either with individual students or small group of students with very intensive reading instruction. I'm really excited. I don't know about the community and the board with looking at the metrics for both attendance and the progress that students are making academically at the conclusion of the summer. And we have some other enrichment opportunities happening throughout the summer as well. We got a report from Dr. BJ that we have about 10 students from the high school who are going to be working with Jackie Katz for the Research Bridge program led by both Amy Lynn and Ms. Sharam. In August, these students will be working with our elementary students. We will share other enrichment activities as they occur later this summer in August. And we do not want to forget that we are also providing professional learning experiences to our adults as well. Can I just say that we had over 50 Princeton Public School teachers who attended 30 hours of Orton Gilliam training this summer. So hats go off to our Sarah Moore, who's provided all of this training. But I'm really excited to see that we have 10 staff members beginning this summer, this September, who are going to be in training to receive certifications so that they too can provide this training. So that is a huge compliment to Dr. Tu and her staff. We are also hosting for the adults our annual Summer Professional Development Institute, where our own staff will be leading workshops in topics such as climate change standards, implementing technology in education, and various independent workshops such as Holocaust education, arts education, and more. Teachers are coming together in August. I'm really excited about this to participate right here in Princeton, Tri-States training as part of the Tri-State Consortium membership. So staff who are attending this will learn about systems thinking, best curriculum and instructional practices, and reflective staff development opportunities. And over time, they will be able to visit other districts to provide feedback on how districts are doing in terms of providing excellent instructional experiences to students. And then finally, we have 2 district-wide teams who are coming under the leadership of Dr. Chu to participate in reviewing both our K-5 report cards, which is long overdue, and our portrait of a graduate progressions, which was outlined in our strategic plan. So we're really looking forward to leveraging our staff's expertise and collaborating across grade levels and disciplines. So that concludes my report for this evening, but I do want to do a shameless plug. As we know, we are almost in August, so you will begin to see all those great back to school commercials from Staples and Walmart and all those places. But it's also time, get ready for the back to school community chats with the superintendent. So we do have some chats that are planned within the community. The information has been sent out via email. It's on our social media as well. It's really open for all of our families or students if you want to come out. Very casual. We're going with the theme this year, community and belonging. Belonging and community. And we begin with having conversations. So please come out if you're able to in August, and I'm sure we'll have more to come as we get back in session. That concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Anyone have any questions? Betsy.
I just want to say thank you for sharing all of that. It's really, really great to hear all the good work happening in the district, both for our students and our teachers. So it's great. School will be here before we know it.
Don't say that.
I know.
Don't say that. All right. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And then we're going to move on. I believe we're going to discuss the November 2023 referendum. Is that you, Mr. Bolden?
Yes, thank you. So we've been working for a while on November 7th, which is a general election referendum for the school district. Transparent time to have a referendum, and timing wise, it's working out. All 6 schools will benefit from this referendum. Categorized into groups of projects, more than 31% regarding safety and security improvements, stemming from walkthroughs that were conducted along with our police department. Obviously, we can't state enough how important this is. Second category would be kind of grouped as wellness and sustainability, looking at playgrounds and high school cafeteria. Major maintenance would be 23.2%. Athletic field upgrades and other various projects throughout the district, and improving our network infrastructure across the district to a 10 gig network is about 18% of the project. The estimate to date is just under $13 million. We have submitted back in May the authorization to the DOE. We hope to get approvals shortly. We just have onboarded a new architect. FVHD has been very active in helping moving the process along. Broken out by schools. We have security updates, athletic field updates, kitchen and cafeteria renovations, adding some lockers, technology upgrades, which I spoke about, and eco lab improvements. Middle school, security upgrades, playground upgrades, some minor upgrades at the pool, technology, infrastructure improvements. At the elementary schools, 2 of them, Community Park is one of them, has some drainage issues around the playground. We'll be working on security updates as well, fencing replacement, technology upgrades. The Johnson Park Elementary would be similar. The difference there, we're going to be looking at improving Wi-Fi signals there. It's been a longstanding issue. There are no drainage issues that we're aware of at the playground. Little Brook would be the same, but there are significant drainage issues we're going to be focusing on, and the similar type of projects as the other elementary schools. And the same at Riverside with playground upgrades with no known drainage issues. And that summarizes the overview of this just under $13 million referendum. We will be looking, there's no action item on the agenda this evening. We will be hopefully approving a question in the next 4 weeks, August 22nd. Being that it's a general election referendum, we have to submit the question by September 8th. So that is our plan. We're in actively communicating with the Department of Education. Sometimes they don't move that quickly. I hope they're not listening. And that's it. There are questions out there from some committee members that have been working with us or any board members, other board members?
Sure. Mr. Bolton, thank you very much. 2 questions. Could you tell us what the breakdown is between hard costs, the actual work itself, and the soft costs? And then I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, so we're just under $10 million on hard costs. They're 30%. So we talk about soft costs. So they account, the biggest piece would be contingency at 15%. That's important in this environment. We've just gone through a, probably a inflationary period that we haven't seen maybe in close to 40 years. So construction costs and all sorts of costs have been rising. We hope we've seen some leveling off, but knock on wood, we don't know. So that's 15%. The other costs are related to architectural and engineering fees in any projects, underwriting fees relating to the issuance of debt, and any construction management fees make up that 30%. So we think that it's a reasonable amount, conservative there. In this environment, if we don't spend all the money, which usually hasn't been the case, you invest the proceeds, which obviously right now, I should say obviously, I would say obviously, we are very good returns. We are getting somewhere close to, almost 5%. We're not allowed to make positive arbitrage, which means that we cannot earn more interest because it's tax exempt. We cannot earn more interest than we're paying on the debt. And obviously in the next few weeks, we'll be estimating what that debt service looks like. When we get those debt service aid projections in the PEC letters, preliminary eligible cost letters, they determine, hopefully we'll have the full amount. The athletic fields can be sometimes not fully refundable. To refresh everyone's memory, the state prorates the 40% debt service aid at 85%. So it's 34% will be the maximum debt service aid. And that goes against the principal and interest to finance referendum projects. So hopefully if we get the full amount, we would get back 30% of that principal and interest on the debt to finance these projects.
Could you say again when we expect to get that information? And that would and what the impact would be. My understanding, and maybe you can just say more about it, is that the state pays part of the principal and interest. So effectively, the taxpayers are not bearing the full burden of, in this case, almost $13 million.
Correct. And the state they have 90 days to issue. They did issue some questions. They were submitted on or about May 15th. So we should be hearing hopefully soon, but hopefully no later than August 15th.
Can I ask a question about the projects? So for example, where are we doing lockers?
It's not a huge part of the high school.
The high school.
High school.
So do we still have an opportunity to discuss what projects will be fitting in the referendum? Yes and no. And we submitted, we can go less. We can't ever go more than what we submitted to the state. Right. Yeah. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so my understanding is that Matt circulated to the board sort of line by line what the pieces were. But when we meet in August, there will be a question, the specific language that we would vote on that language. And at that point in time, anybody could certainly, make a request, or I don't know what the parliamentary procedure is, but to remove, not to add, but to remove something that is currently listed as being part of the referendum. Is that right, Mr. Bolton?
That's accurate. It does get a little complicated if we start nitpicking too much, depending
Hey,
on
hey.
the preliminary eligible cost letters. So we have to be able to draft a question.
Mhm.
And hopefully, that August 22nd will be the optimal date, right? So with drop dead date, we can't pass it, we can't try to draft it the night before. So we have to be able to discern the projects that get state aid. So yes and no.
Okay, thank you. I did read your email. Thank you very much, line by line. I must have missed the lockers. And my only concern is the students don't use lockers.
The high school has requested for some extra lockers.
Mm.
Oh, it's
No,
in
not
the-
athletics.
It's not in the.
I'm so- I'm-
phys ed.
No,
Oh,
just regular lockers. They need more lockers.
And they
don't have
wanted
enough
them on the
lockers.
first floor when we did our tour.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And,
Kind of close to the Tiger Cafe. There's a wall there leading towards the,
but the kids don't use lockers.
every kid is assigned a locker.
Yes, I know.
My own kids, yes. It was
Yes.
interesting this generation. They don't tend to use them as much as we did growing up.
I'll also say during COVID, they weren't able to. So I think it's also just sort of socializing them into
Yeah.
using them again. Right?
Ms. Barrett?
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, thank you for your work on this. I know that it came up, the idea of doing this referendum, I think, came up in the operations committee because we were asked, some of us have been on this board a long time, and we went through a lot in 2018, was it? And the public was really clear at that time that they wanted us to be really proactive with them and ask for things when they were needed. And I feel like we are doing what we had been asked to do in terms of keeping our buildings and facilities current and making the appropriate investments as stewards of our facilities. So I appreciate your work on this and the fact that we can do it in connection with a regular election where people are coming to the polls anyway, and we can throw a question on there and the taxpayers are given the choice of whether they want to make these investments, I think is a really good way to be doing this. And I also just want to emphasize, again, we were talking about these PEC letters and all this complicated things. Basically, we could either do this work that needs to get done eventually in our budget where we don't really have any money for it. But if we did it in our budget, the taxpayers, we'd all pay 100% of the cost. But because we have the mechanism of a referendum, we're able to put it in a referendum and potentially get some money back from the state to help us cover the interest cost, which I think that's what you've been saying. I just want to say it again because I think it's an important financing mechanism for the community to try to get more value for our dollars. So thank you for your work on this.
No, you're welcome. And we should bring up the fact that it was done fiscally responsibly and that we had an awful lot of debt rolling off, and many districts rushed to add that debt back. So so it's seamless and taxpayers don't know, but we've been slowly adding on projects that are needed over time. And we hope, we're going to hold back at our, the high point of the debt, I think was fiscal 21 or 22. They're almost the same. So we want to hopefully over time, not go higher than that. That's our goal. Says one of our goals. So it has been done on a fiscally responsible manner.
So we're still doing the roof projects that were approved in 2021, correct? Those
Yes,
projects are being
part of
done
the-
over.
Yes,
4 or
we're
5 years.
issuing those bids next month, early next month, and mid-September, hopefully awarding.
Which is what we had intended over time. And so this referendum would fund projects that could then also be done over the next 3 to 4 years? What's the?
Yeah,
timeframe?
2 to 3 years
So
would
it
be
gives
likely
you
for
a-
these projects.
gives you a
Security
fund.
projects we want to get going as soon as possible.
Right, but it doesn't all happen at
Clearly.
one time. It's projects that then are able to be done as it's efficient based on resources and time.
Yeah, most of these will be a little short, quicker and not delayed.
Thank you.
Technology infrastructure, it's the network is taxed, so that'll be really important. I think everyone will benefit from that.
And how quickly will the safety and security measures be done if we approved in November?
There are long lead times indoors, so we will be discussing over the next couple months how we want to approach that, whether we want to get the bid specs ahead of time, such as we did with the elementary roofs going back 2 years ago, where so even though it's November, which is good because it still gives us some time, we want to get them ready as quick as possible. If it took us another couple months, it would probably be post-January. We should be okay though, because the door work can be done second shift. That's the scoped out work. So they come in from 3 to 11 and do the work
Thank
during
you.
school.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just, as board members continue to think about the referendum and read through what Mr. Bolden sent out, if you have any questions, please reach out to Matt or to me or to Susan, so that hopefully we can have the question written in the right way when we get here on August 22nd. And Mr. Bolden, will we have more opportunities to talk about some of the specifics in the referendum? I know the community is very interested, for example, in security upgrades. I know we can't be overly specific about what we're doing, since that's the request of the state and our local police, but are we able to describe, in some level of detail that is appropriate, what some of the things that fall into each of these categories? You did a nice job of summarizing, and also perhaps talking about when we get closer to election day, and we have a better visibility into the interest rate environment, what the potential impact would be for the average taxpayer.
Yeah, we'll be fine tuning those. We don't want to necessarily broadcast every little specific security thing, but basically middle school and high school, getting them up to speed with the middle school has secure vestibules. We'll be looking at the high school doors and locks, et cetera, et cetera. And we will be obviously fine tuning our estimates as we move forward over the next few weeks, along with our financial advisor who helps us. We can never predict the markets. If it was a positive, if it was passed on November 7th, it looks like we would likely be able to issue the debt ahead of the holiday season. Yes, Ms. Tuck-Ponder?
Yeah, so my question has to do with how this referendum will attack some of the long-term maintenance issues that we had in the district. You remember when you came on board, there was a lot to do. And so there was a plan, a multi-year plan to address the big issues like roofs and HVAC and all those things. How will this referendum help us progress through this list, or do you feel like we have really attacked the lion's share of the maintenance issues that we needed to address in the schools?
That's a never-ending battle. So in this referendum, there's a lot of smaller kind of bite-sized projects. The high school cafeteria is in dire need of, we have one lunch period at the high school. We want to maximize that space. We also want to, sustainability-wise, there's a dishwasher area there that will be put back in with a dishwasher, so we don't have to use disposables. Maximize that space, get students in and out of the lunch area. We have to returf the field every about 10 years. You don't get more than 12 years out of a turf field. We do GMAX tests each year. And that's necessary. The track needs to be resurfaced. And then we mentioned the security issues. Those are kind of the bigger projects. And there are some maintenance type projects out there. The playgrounds have been an area of district-wide focus. We are always working to, improve them. There actually is a nice donation, anonymous donation tonight on the agenda. It was added today. So we got the details on that. It was great. But we're always, we did apply for a grant. We got awarded a $75,000 grant for playgrounds. So that'll help in that area as well. I hope I answered your question. Okay.
Just one general question. Once all of this is finalized, so in August, if we have voted on the question, will we be presenting to the schools and working with the PTOs just to inform our voters of what would be on the ballot?
Yeah, I think we'll try to, mimic along with our new people that we have working with. Ms. Perlo is in the audience, but we'll go out and do what we did last time, work with the PTOs, stakeholder groups in the district, communicate as effectively as we can, all the different areas. I think it should have pretty good appeal to the community.
I'm going to ask that we make sure that we appeal beyond parents and PTO for all the people in the town who contribute to underwriting the cost of our schools. So I know you're going to do that, but I just, for the record, it's important to make sure that we note that everybody pays taxes.
That's correct.
Anyone else?
So just to be clear, for the public watching, they'll say, well, what are the specific projects? And so in August, when we're given a question, there'll be some breakdown by project so people can see specifics, right?
Correct.
That's when we start. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. We appreciate your managing all these projects.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on now to our first public forum, comments on public comment on agenda items and non-agenda items. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Nope, not seeing anyone. Move on to item. Would you like to, anyone? No? The audience is having fun with us here tonight. There's item H1, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. H2 is semi-annual student safety data report. And we're going to move on to the board committee highlights. I'm sorry.
I just wanted
Wanna
to
go back?
comment on the safety data
All right,
report.
you just have to say, hey, you. So you
Okay.
get me. All right.
It's both welcome and unwelcome information, and that I'm very happy always to receive the information, but there do seem to be an increase in the number of incidents of various sorts, ranging from suspensions to harassment, intimidation, and bullying and vandalism. And I know that the 2 prior years were COVID years, so they're not good, compare to. And Dr. Kelly, I think, did mention that the 2019 year would have seen more incidents, but it still strikes me that these numbers are on the high side. And I know that there's been a lot of discussion that COVID has really impacted some of our young people. And I hope we can continue as a district to work on that, to look at the numbers, try to understand the underlying causes, and work with our young people to reduce the number of incidents.
I think honestly, as a community, for us to look at the incidents and also various solutions. Because I know it sounds like a tagline, but school districts can't do it alone.
Did someone else have their hand up? No? Okay. Moving on now to board committee reports. And the first committee is going to be long-term planning with Beth Berend and Brian McDonald.
Thank you, Brian. I'll take it. The Long-Term Facilities Planning Committee met with our consultants on Thursday, July 20th to continue our review of options for addressing capacity challenges in the 4 elementary schools, including renovation and or expansion of facilities and redistricting. New district architects have been hired, and they are already working closely with our planners and our staff, and the important process of assigning capital and operating costs to the various models has begun. These will be critical factors to consider as we narrow our options. Separately, work continues to look at capacity needs at the middle school and to assess the impact of the new wing at PHS on the educational program and capacity. There will be a full presentation on elementary options at our August or September meeting. We're still working on trying to get this all together, but it will come. At which time the goal will be to narrow the options to 2 for ongoing board and community discussion. So we've talked about a lot of things with the community, a number of different options, and we'd like to narrow it down and show how we got there and have a matrix that gives a reason, gives kind of a rubric for how we make these decisions. Our next meeting is Wednesday, July 26th. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. This will be a closed working meeting focused on a rubric to assist the board and community in comparing the pros and cons of the various elementary options.
Thank you, Beth. And we appreciate the committee's efforts. Those are not easy decisions, and you'll be making a recommendation, for the board to take action on. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on to personnel with Debbie Brownfeld and Mara Franceschi.
I'm going to give it this month. Personnel met on July 6th. We met the new guidance supervisor of guidance, John McMichael. We discussed the new state law about sick leave allowance. We discussed new hires. We discussed staff orientation, and we discussed the nurses. And our next meeting is August 3rd. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Next up is policy. Back to Beth Behrend.
Thank you. I'll take it for Jean. She's not here this evening. Policy met on the 21st of July, and we talked about a number of things that are up for first read tonight. One of them was the attendance policy, and we went through that in a great detail because, as we all know, many of us are also parents and have our own questions about these things. And we talked a lot about communications and the importance of explaining the attendance policies and how the state law works to parents so that we all have a better handle on how to handle this with our children. We talked about a number of the other policies that are up for first read, and we have received administrative comment on a number of them. A number of them reflect changes in the statutes. And we would have our next meeting on August 18th at 8:15 a.m. It is open to the public.
Thanks, Beth. And again, we appreciate all the work that the policy committee is doing. It's very important. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up is student achievement. I missed operations. Sorry. I'm going to go to student achievement with Betsy and Michelle, and then we're going to go back to operations because it's been too much operations discussion tonight. That was
An operations heavy discussion. So
never enough. All right.
okay.
Let's get a little kids in there and then we'll come back to you.
We had a great student achievement meeting. They're all great, but it was a particularly great meeting on July 14th at 11:30 a.m. We had some members of the public join us. It is a public meeting. We welcome your participation, but we just want to thank our staff and administrators and teachers and support staff who are working so hard, as Dr. Kelly shared over the summer. Priscilla Russell came to discuss some Apple results. Apple testing is one of the assessments that is being used to determine what the DLI students are gaining from the program. And so we heard about that. We heard about a new middle school math support program that's being considered and put in place for the fall. And we really appreciate those efforts to make sure we have the math support classes for the students who need those support classes. Our administrative team at the high school came to speak about some high school classes. We had questions about class size cutoffs and how those decisions are made regarding numbers in classes. There'll be some changes for incoming freshmen that involve a study hall rather than sort of some free time within the building. Breaking news. Well, if you were at the student achievement meeting, you heard it already. And the high school handbook is being revised. So board members, we all received a copy of that to review, and parents in the community and students will be receiving that as well. And then Sarah Moore came to our meeting and talked about the new program pilot for K-5 math. They're piloting the Reveal program in some elementary school classrooms, which is very exciting as well. We then adjourned into closed session, but it really was a terrific meeting full of lots of great work in the district. Our next meeting is Friday, August 18th at 11:30, and it's on Zoom. Please join us.
Thanks, Betsy. All right. Going back to operations now. I appreciated that break.
I'm
Susan.
going to present for operations.
Thank you, Susan.
I won't feel left out. That you.
It wasn't intentional. Sorry.
So first, I know our committee would like to thank Matt and his team because he's been hard at work on the referendum. So to see it coming toward a finalization of what will be in it, we've been working on it for 8 months to a year, talking about the different projects, and also to see projects that our student representatives had talked about and brought forward, I think is heartwarming to see too. So we met at July 11th at 7:30 a.m. because our meetings are so fun that we like to.
Did you get paid more?
We like to begin the day. So we began by getting an update on the current referendum projects. The only issue we've been having is over at Riverside, where some of the work is more extensive on the repairs to the siding than was originally thought, but they're hard at work trying to make sure that that work is done properly, and we'll get a plan if it needs to go into the fall so that they can work on it after school or on Saturdays to make sure it gets completed in the best way possible. We then, as we always do, discuss sustainability, and Jenny Lundmer, who I see out in the audience, presented Sustainable Princeton with our partnership, and she spoke about continued energy monitoring in our building, our continuing quest to eventually electrify some of our maintenance vehicles and our buses, and she continues to look for grants to move that forward. We, on the agenda today, you'll see a Trees for School grant that is very exciting, that we will be accepting for 100 trees in our district. And then we also spoke on the Eco Lab and the continuing progress that we're making with both those in the high school and our community partners that are helping us with the Eco Lab work. We discussed a new bus that had to be bought, sustainable lighting for the pool, and then we went into closed session to go over some of the work you've seen in the for the referendum. Our next meeting, and we do always have public come, it's August 9th at 8 a.m. We're going to do a late start at 8 a.m. And we welcome any members of the public to join us. They're the best meetings.
Thank you. All right, and moving on
We
now.
saved the best for last.
Yes, absolutely. Usually it's Betsy, but I guess it's not. It's Susan tonight. Yes. Okay, moving on now to policies. J1, the first reading. Anybody? All right, and I'm going to go through personnel. All right, K1 resignations, K2 retirement. I wanted to say on the agenda tonight, we're being asked to approve the retirement of Bob Carell, who has been a teacher of biological science and chemistry, and he will have completed 26 years in the district. I just want to say, so Bob Carell, I'll tell a story. Bob Carell, he's very unassuming. He's Dr. Carell. I mean, no disrespect, but you know, I've known him for a while now. Bob Carell came to a meeting once, and he used to, when we changed the schedule at the high school, he actually would add up the minutes. So we went to a rotating block schedule. And yes, I've been here like Beth too long. And Bob came to the meeting and sat and talked, I don't know, for a long time. About 4 minutes he was losing every day. And the 4 minutes added up to not 20 a week, I forget. But anyway, it ended up being like 200 hours. Not really, but you know, in Bob speak, it was a lot. And he was very upset because he was going to lose that learning time. And that kind of, but anyway, someone said to me, who is that guy speaking? Is he a gym teacher? Because Bob is very unassuming and he usually wears a t-shirt and a shirt. And I said, no, that's Bob Carell. He teaches AP Chem. And he is, he's very good at that. And I will just say Bob Carell, again, since I've been here so long, he actually started the bridge programs that we now have that seek to bring, to get the engagement of Black, Brown, and special ed kids and girls into the sciences. And there were a lot, you know, there were a lot of things we didn't think about, like lunch. And, you know, it wasn't uncommon for, you know, Bob and other teachers to bring lunch in for the kids. So just to say, I don't think he's irreplaceable, but there's big shoes there and we're very grateful. And teachers like Bob Carell are what make our district what it is. And we're very grateful for his service and we wish him all the best in his retirement.
I just wanted to
Snap at me, do something.
add a little bit about Dr. Carell. We're fortunate to have many gifted teachers here in the district. I think that he really is somebody we can hold a bright light and shine it on him, for somebody who's had this passion for teaching, as you sort of said, every minute of teaching for 26 years. And he's inspired our children. He's not been an easy grader. I at least not in my family, but he's been fair, and really has brought those subjects to life. I think he's also been a great citizen of the district, and I know that he's done very hard work for PRIA and has represented the faculty extremely well. And I just want to join you in wishing him all the best with his retirement and thank him for absolutely everything that he has contributed to our children and to our district.
And I just want to echo what Brian said. I have two images of Dr. Carell, and one is of him in his lawn chair sitting outside in the dark with us that night when we had a meeting. We had to have him March, I think it was March 17th, 2020. We had to meet because we weren't able to go virtual
We had to
until
pass a policy
passed a policy, and he was there with us
in a
in the
lawn
dark
chair.
on the front lawn there.
Yeah.
And that was quite
Yeah,
powerful.
I forgot about that.
And then the other thing I will say as a parent, coming out of COVID and in COVID, I had a child in Dr. Carell's class, and I was so moved by the communication,
Mhm.
the regular communication he sent to us about the children and about what he was trying to teach them and what he was concerned about and what he felt they needed to understand or had missed. And we all needed to support them on both sides, in the school, in the classroom, and home. And as a parent, to see an educator who cares that much for his work and for the children to communicate with us like that, it's something I've rarely seen, although we have many wonderful teachers. But Dr. Carell has a very special special way of understanding his role and his care for the students. So he will be missed.
Thank you, Mara.
And I'll pipe in very shortly, a very short statement as well. With Dr. Carell, I haven't met him personally, but my son did have the pleasure of having him, and I just really, really appreciate the joy, that he's able to maintain the joy of the subject, and my son's joy in chemistry, and he really loved it, and he did such an excellent job. Communication is outstanding, and he will be sorely missed.
Thanks, Mara. Anyone else? No. All right. We're moving on now. Hold on. I lost my place. Yeah, I know. I got to find it here. I know. So K3 appointments. K4 is an action item. Can I get a motion, please? Debbie, second. Susan?
Daphne Kendall.
Yes.
Betsy Baglio.
Yes.
Beth Barron.
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld.
No.
Mara Franceschi.
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Moving on, K5, transfer reassignment. K6, personnel item. K7, substitute reappointment of substitutes. K8, leave of absence. K9, student services. K10, curriculum and instruction. K11, CJ Pride consortium membership. K12, press a sidebar agreement. All right, moving on now to curriculum and instruction, grant acceptance, 2024 ESA grant. L2 is an action item. Can I get a motion, please? Brian, second. Beth?
Can we just clarify?
Daphne Kendall.
Oh, hold on. What are we?
Just to clarify, this is not a new trip for the public, just to know this is just a revision of dates to an existing trip that we had already approved.
Okay, thank you.
Daphne Kendall.
Yes.
Betsy Baglio.
Yes.
Beth Barron.
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld.
Yes.
Mara Franceschi.
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder.
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Okay, and before we move on, I just wanted to, so I think you missed the conversation at that long student achievement committee meeting that went on like at time zones. And no offense, Kim. No. There's a lot of curriculum in this district. But anyway, we had people who got offended when their meetings went too long. But anyway, and we had a really interesting discussion about field trips. And, we do have to, there are a lot of field trips that are going on in this district that aren't related to the curriculum. And, it is something that Dr. Tu is looking at. And so, I do want to thank you for bringing it up. Like we had a math class that went to Great Adventure, and it wasn't even a physics class. So, there are things, parents send us their kids to educate them. And we need to make sure that we're doing that within the full parameter of the 180 days we have.
Thank you. And I abstain just to be consistent.
And you like to keep us on our toes, which is good. It's good. But I had coffee before I came, so I'm good today. All right. Item L3 is the remote learning plan. I'm going to say we were required, right? Required by the state to have this remote learning plan. And it will, so can you just talk about the snow days and all the nonsense, please? Sorry.
So yes,
Mhm.
we have to go through 3
Yeah.
days.
So the requirement of remote learning day plan is required for all school districts. However, all school districts in the state of New Jersey still need to take 3 snow days prior to being able to use remote learning in the event of either a weather emergency or sometimes there are emergencies in buildings. For the last 2 school years, I believe in the JP area, they were without power or water, things of that nature. So this plan, however, is separate from emergency days.
So this came out of COVID. So there's been state code that says that districts need to be prepared in any kind of situation because obviously we
Mhm.
weren't
We weren't,
for that life-changing event.
Yeah.
So it's the same as last year. We have to do it every year and get it county approved, and it has to be on our website. And so if you go to the curriculum tab, it's there. Once the board approves it tonight, we send a checklist to the county that says that we consider things like how are we reaching out to our English language learners? How are we reaching out to families? What about food service? All the things that we had to think about during COVID have to be in this plan. And then once the county approves, we're good to go for the year.
Thank you. So just to be clear, if there's a snow day, it is not in our purview to have remote learning. That's right?
No.
That is correct.
Right.
In our calendar, all of the district snow days are built in at the end of the year.
Now, if there is a change to the law, we will update our calendar because there should be, although kids do deserve a break, maybe we'll have half day, but there should be remote learning when there's a snow day so that the kids can get out early and enjoy the summer.
Correct.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kelly and Dr. Chu.
I just want to go on record as saying I like snow days and hope there's some snow.
I second that. I would like to, yes. No doubt.
Just remember that's taking us to June 19th.
Yes. And children learn better in September than they do in June.
Mhm.
So thank you, Dr. Kelly. I appreciate that. All right. Moving on now, we have item L4, grant application, acceptance of the trees that Susan, see, I did listen, was talking about. It's $165,000. Thank you to everyone who was involved in getting us that grant. And it's our little part in making this world more sustainable, although we probably have to do more. All right. I lost my spot again. All right. M1, nursing, school nursing plan. M2, educational placement of students, pupils, sorry. And M3, educational placement of pupils 23-24. M4, special education, educational evaluations. M5, commission for the blind. M6, professional consulting service revised. M7, professional consulting services 23-24. M8, grant application acceptance. IDEIA. Moving on now to business and 1, financial reports, and 2, fire and evacuation drills, and 3, registration travel agenda, and 4, competitive contracting renewal, and 5, as Mr. Bolden said, we have a very generous donation from a family at Riverside who want to remain anonymous, and they're donating a piece of playground equipment valued at $39,561 for a playground structure at Riverside Elementary School. So we're very grateful for the donation. As Mr. Bolden and Brian said, we're very careful what we go to taxpayers for. Our playgrounds do need some work as far as drainage, and they're not as accessible as they should be to disabled students. And so we'll take care of some of those costs, which are incredibly high, through a referendum. But items like this, we really count on PTOs and other donations to bring this kind of equipment to our schools. And so we don't have a picture of it, right? Maybe next meeting. Was there? Oh, okay. All right. Does that look like $39,000? But, oh, yeah.
It's bigger than that.
No, I'm sure it's like 10 feet, right?
It's bigger.
Yeah. But anyway, this was, the parents saw this and had this at another school. They raved very highly about it. And so they brought it here. So again, we're very grateful for that. So thank you. Moving on now, where am I? I am on, public comment. Anyone? You just came to join us tonight? You were bored? No, Jenny.
Thank you for the grant. Yes, it'll
Oh.
bring 152 trees is the idea.
Ah,
Thank you
well,
for
thank you.
approval of that.
Yeah.
So we're excited and I hope that we get it. That's the whole idea.
Okay, well, good luck. Thank you for your help. All right, there is no public comment. And I'm moving on to the consent vote, P1. Mr. Bolden, can I get a motion? Beth, Mara? Did you guys have a question? No? Just side chatter? We're applying apparently. I thought we did have it.
No, we're applying for it.
We're applying for it. Yes.
And we typically do apply and accept in one resolution. On this, if we get it, it's, yeah. Some of the grants are very particular, especially the federal grants.
When will we find out, Jenny?
Mid-September.
Mid-September. And do they go right in right away or do we wait till the spring?
It would be in the spring.
In the spring. All right. Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people did a lot of work on that, Jenny, especially Jenny Ledmer and Dave Harding,
Yes.
the district.
Tony Diaforli, we all walked
Yes,
around
Tony
together. It
Diaforli.
was a nice hot day, so it was really
It
nice
was.
just for trees.
Yeah.
But,
That's-
really
that's great.
appreciate all the work towards it and I'm hoping we get it.
All right. Thank you. All right. Moving on now. So it was Betsy and Mara.
Mhm.
All right.
Beth
Beth.
and Mara. Motion by Beth, seconded by Mara.
Oh,
Daphne Kendall,
yes.
Betsy Baglio. Betsy Baglio,
Yes.
Yes.
Beth Barron,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. And so this concludes our meeting before 9 o'clock. Thank you. Yep. Wait, I just wanted to say, so it's summer, but the work of the district goes on. We had 27 open vacancies, and those are being filled very successfully. The search for the high school principal continues, and we hope to provide an update in August. And with that, can I please have a motion to adjourn? Betsy, second, Mara. All in favor? All right, good night, everyone.